it's going to be hard. And we never got our interview, Sean. But here we are. We're going to do our best today on the Even Nova, the big three, top three biggest conventions in North America, potentially the world. Nova, Adepticon, and LVO. This weekend, it's going to get real. Give me your top four. Give me your final four. How many of these people are on your team? What list are they playing? How are they going to win? What's the path to victory?
Yeah, I'd definitely say if I was going to just pick four, I'd pick Nick Nanavati, Tony Kopak, Nick Rose, Brad Chester. Nick obviously has been killing it all season with his Eldar. Now he's adding a little cheaty Vect in there, to handle his night problem. And Tony showed everyone at ETC what a Castellan backed by a CP farm and some Slam captains can really do. And I think he's just going to carry that over into
Would you
Nova.
say, I've been saying that's the best list in 40K. Would you say that's obviously we talked in the webcast, player matters more than list for sure. But these group of players on your ETC team that you led this year are unquestionably amazing players. Do you think, in the hands of an amazing player, do you think that's the best list in 40K?
I think it's definitely the best list. I think it's the standard bearer. I think you can build lists that handle it, but if that's right now, I would say is probably the standard bearer, where if you go into a tournament and you can't handle that list, you're obviously not going to win because it's going to show up. Which is usually what I would call the best list. I mean, lists can beat it, and that's the whole point. Everyone builds for Eldar because
but can lists
the
beat
best
it?
List.
But also know they can beat every other list.
I mean, I think Nick and I can build an Eldar list that handles that list and plays other lists, but those lists might be harder for other people to play with.
And break down Tony's list, at least in the ETC capacity. Why it's so good? What's in it? Because we harped on it not harped on it. We've been on this train. Like, it's so sick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Guard brigade for what's brigade now? Like 12 command points, something like that.
1,000 command points.
1,000 command points. So he's got like 60, 70, 80 guardsman bodies that are strength 4 because they're Catechins. A couple hellhounds that are Catechins, so they're rerolling the dice to shoot. Some mortar teams just to fill out and throw some more indirect shots, which is big at Nova because there's heavy terrain. And then a couple of the guard characters, Priest and Strachan, both add +1 attack to the guardsmen. So the guardsmen are like 3-4 attacks with the auras, stuff like that. All strength 4. You can mob up, stuff like that. And hidden behind that is some captain characters that you can't target, or he can deep strike them in, charge 3d6. Turn 1, he can throw.
And when you say
forward.
captains, you mean a Blood Angel battalion?
Yeah, Blood Angel battalion. A couple more command points. Some scouts that we talked about earlier to block out your Alpha Legion. Cultist shenanigans.
Anything with an ambush style rule gets blocked, gets choked. It's also unlocks the 5 CPs from the battalion. Also, I think it's 2 slam captains, and I think it's going to be like Angel's Wings and the other CP farm relic. Probably, right?
Yeah, at least. So you spend a lot of CP pre-game, and then at the start of the game, once you have the knight tooled up with all its CP, you lose a lot of those CP because you can't CP farm those. But then when you start the game with 10+ command points that you're basically never going to run out of, and you're going to gain command points from your opponent.
So is that how it's played? So like when you're mustering your armies and you're buying relics, you're not farming any of those CPs back into your list.
No, you can't. You can't farm until you guys on the board, and your guys not on the board when you're picking relics and all that.
So so mustering is the weird hang up in the literature, right? So like mustering your force isn't during deployment; it's on the roster pre-deployment.
Yeah, so like Death Company to Sanguinia, Death Company or Visions and all that. That's all pre-rolls. So the only things you can get back that are semi-pre-game are like, if you had to pay to deep strike somebody, which you don't in that list, but for those you could farm that. You can farm that from your opponent if they're paying the deep strike guys or paying Alpha Legion guys. But your guys that are farming that have to be on the board before they try to do that. So you'd have to deploy usually people deploy the Imperial Guard character first, and then maybe that captain, and then they can farm enemy stuff like that. So like you farm the Eldar player deep striking, you can farm the
it's pretty strong.
Alpha Legion.
So then on top of the Blood Angel Brigade, which is really good, which are buying like 4 CPs worth of shit themselves, right?
Yeah.
He's taking in Castellan, right? Like a super heavy.
Yeah, and the Castellan's really strong, especially against quality.
Well, like Iron Bulwark and the 2-up armor save relic. So it's like the
Usually I
the
see
4-up invulnerable and the 2-up save. Is that usually what the standard is?
a lot of times you take the relic plasma because the 3 damage against a lot of things is really good.
Turns out that's good.
Turns out that's strong. Kills my Harlequin bikes really fast. Uh, but it does a lot of quality damage because you can tool out a lot of vehicles. One with you like volcano cannon one, plasma cannon the other, missiles and the auto cannons at the third vehicle. You can take out a lot of vehicles really quick. Castellan on Castellan is funny because the Castellans can't really shoot the other Castellans well, and that's where the slam
Because of the ion
captains come
shields.
Because you rotate ion shields.
Yep. That's where you need a slam captain. Slam captain is the I shut down Unite.
Yeah,
Like, it's so good. But his slam captains are hidden behind a bunch of dudes. I'm sure he plays really conservatively with them. Lets them do what they need to do when they need to do it. He takes over.
Wait for mistakes.
Yep. He's amorphous with his units, takes over, gets that mobility, gets that speed. The Hellhounds are really fast. They're also they're missiles because there's the forgeable ones that blow up on a 4, right?
I mean, in ETC they're not allowed, so I mean, but in NoVA I'm sure you would take them because they're cheaper
those.
and they're better.
So they're fast. They get out there. They're heat missiles. They torch shit. They blow up. Do some mortal wounds. Catechins get in the grill. Create block out the table. Goddamn Castellan's a goddamn beast. And the slam captain's like at the end of the day, like now you're going into turn 3 and shit's kind of winding down. The opponent has nothing left to deal with the slam captains.
Yeah, that's the thing is the slam captains and the knights handle all high value targets, and the guard handle all chaff targets, and they both do those things very efficiently, very well. Which is where you get in the problem is you need to beat that list. You need to be able to clear the guard fast enough that you can handle the knight and the captains. Because if you can't clear the guard, you're not going to be able to.
No, it's literally fundamentals of. That's why I think the list is the best list right now. It's got it's got everything. It uses character exploit rules. It uses CP farming. It uses the new freshest, rules of 40k attached to the Dominus class knights, and it has bodies, quality chat, like trash kills trash, elite kills elite.
And Hellhounds are no joke. Like a vehicle that does a lot of damage to infantry is hard to deal with because you don't have enough time to waste. If you only brought so much anti-tank, you got to save that for the knight. But then the Hellhounds are up in your face, running into your stuff.
Yeah, basically you have to pretend it doesn't exist. That's like I've been playtesting against it like crazy. It's like if you don't have the ability to deal with those and that, like that's not in your cards, and you're trying to, there's any chance for you can keep this game close. You have to go into what I call operation. It doesn't exist. Like operation, it's gonna do what it do, and you can't actually kill it. So every moment you waste trying to kill it is a moment that you're fucking wasting time and not scoring points. Like I'm not saying you're gonna win the game, but I'm saying like it's like don't interact. Don't even try to interact with it if you can't interact with it. Like use all your fingers, all your toes, do some math, and be like, yo, I can't interact with it. Don't.
Yeah, and I think that's what Nick's plan with at least his invitational list is to not deal with the knight at all, just to deal with everything else and ignore the knight.
Because in a lot of ways, knights are great distractions. Even obviously the knight can kill the fuck out of some shit, right? But it also gives you another excuse not to interact with other things that you have to interact with now. If you just put blinders on and you don't see that motherfucker, right? Then you can actually interact with things you interact with. That's why I take a knight. I love taking a single knight in my chaos lists because it just gives you another excuse not to interact with my other things. Even though it's not a fucking imperial fucking dominus with all the good stratagems, it's still like, yo, you got.
I mean, you still have a decent stratagem with the reroll everything.
Yeah, no, it's still decent. I don't have the survivability, but you still gotta kill it. And if it's one turn, you don't think about my other things. It increases my chances of winning. Like so,